Good afternoon, everyone. New Bombogenesis heading for the U.S. East Coast. Snow totals on tap. Northeast U.S. to be blanketed. Cold returns to Europe and North America. A look across the UK at the snow totals as Storm Emma and the superfreeze beast from the east collide. Snow is drifting, roads are impassable, and blizzard conditions with whiteout. Condition red remains. And while you're watching the video, please remember to subscribe to Adapt 2030 and click that bell so you can get the latest updates.
Bombogenesis 2.0. We saw a Bombogenesis cyclone earlier in the year, another one approaching the U.S. Looking here at the storm track as it goes overland all the way to the Great Lakes over the next 4 days. Taking a look at the snowfall totals out through March 3rd and 4th. Some of these areas are pushing 2 feet. And in the first day of the storm, most places are going to receive a foot, some others up to 2 feet. But as we get into the second day of intensification, you can see the line right where the 2-foot mark is. In that more teal color, but the next foot of snow shall fall as well. And the storm impacts for March 1st through the 3rd, also tapering off into the 4th, will be rain with wet snow at higher elevations, rain with snow mixed with sleet, mixed with hail, and then there'll also be heavy rain and flooding with trace snow and wind gusts from 40 to 60 miles per hour, depending on the color area that you're in. Also, there's going to be coastal flooding, but we know time and time again the news tries to inflate the coastal flooding with the storm surge to try to push some sort of sea rise agenda with the global warming narrative. But if you do see waters rising, please take care in your area. Ryan Maue. I've linked everything below so you can see the latest news feeds from the GFS model on how the storm is tracking so you can keep you and your family safe. Storm should start to be landing tonight, but when we look at Joe Bastardi's 500 millibar chart, shows that we're matching up with something like 1962, but you can see each of those lows that's going to be tracking over the U.S. as well as Europe. And it's well summed up here. Tomorrow will be one of the most wild weather days in the United States Northeast for 2018. That dark blue in the center there, that is the center of the low that's approaching land, which is going to drop massive snowfalls. A little bit easier for you to read chart here. Snowfall forecast, anything in the dark purple will be 12 to 18 inches, foot and a half. Everything else at least 6 inches where there's color. I'm taking a look at James Van Fleet's feed. We looked at that prior track map of the storm, but here's what the snow totals will be as we go through the next 4 days. The intensification, of course, is going to be the next 2 days, but as it tapers off, you can see how it's going to track a bit more north, and it's going to lead out through the northeast up into Canada Maritimes. Back over to Joe Bastardi's 500 millibar chart, especially the one that's on the east coast with that dark blue center. That is the storm that's going to be tracking over the east. And jumping out to March 13th, you can still see the cold pervades in that same setup that we saw in the Maunder minimum. Temperature reconstruction reaching all the way from Canada down into Florida. But as we go up to March 17th, notice Alaska anomalously cold, at least 11-12 degrees Celsius below normal. That whole narrative of the Arctic is so much above normal. It only happened for a day or two, and now the temperatures have returned back down to 40 degrees Celsius below zero. But they'll have you believe it's been like that for the entire winter when it was just a 2-day event and it never even reached the melt point. It was still 10, 12, 15 degrees below 0 Celsius, even though it was 10 degrees warmer. And instead of being minus 20 C, it was minus 10 C. Jumping over to the UK, where Storm Emma is colliding with the superfreeze over Europe called the Beast from the East, AA road watch. Do not take to the roads. Red warning still in place, and remember, red warning means UK government has canceled all auto insurance. Well, it's drifting on the roads anyway. Doesn't look very conducive for driving. Doesn't matter where you look. North, south, east, and west across the UK, Kildare, Same. Blowing roads conditions, New Yorkshire. Also 20,000 people without power in Derbyshire. And this is where it really starts to get interesting because the UK power grid right now is at the all-time consumption due to the cold. Ice, sleet, snow, blowing wind are now taking down power lines, and we get this first disruption of at least 20,000 people. That vehicle on the right, that's a fire truck. So you can get the gauge of how deep the snow is and how intense that wind is blowing. Devon as well, freezing rain, drifting snow. A little bit of snow depths here for you. Hard to drive in that. And then we come up to Ram's Head. Atrocious blizzard conditions. Wexford in Ireland. It seems like all of Ireland's covered in this depth of snow with blowing drifts. South Wales. This is how deep the snow drifts are when people open their doors. Extreme drifting snow. Then we find this in Stainmore, completely blocked doorways. Hard to get out of that. You need a shovel in your house, I guess. Back to Ireland, it's just repeating photo after repeating photo. Thanks for watching. Hope you got something out of the video. Our world is setting up to repeat something like the 1960s and 50s in the temperatures again as we descend deeper into the grand solar minimum. This is the first step down and you're witnessing it firsthand. Wait until the next couple years. You're going to see something we haven't seen in over 400.